Sorry, hang on. Sorry, I'm supposed to be going live with someone. I'm just checking that they've got the link. Hello, BlaXit family, BlaXit family, BlaXit family. Oh, microphone. Sorry, excuse me. My tardiness this week. Let me have a quick look. Sorry about this. I'm just putting the microphone in. Oh my God. Sorry. So, finally, wow. All hot and flustered. Hello, BlaXit family. Let me get the microphone. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. Let me know if you can hear and you can see me. I hope you're ready for today's live. Let me just check with my guest 1 second because he should be on. And I don't know why he's not on. Oh, I wonder why I'm so hot and flustered. Could you pass me my phone, please, Kath? Would you mind? Thanks, Catherine, for moderating for us this week. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Greetings, BlaXit family. Greetings, BlaXit family. Greetings, BlaXit family. Thank you. Oh, it's very hot today. I'm sweating from all my orifices. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Okay, great. I'm just checking because I'm supposed to have a guest on. And function, and so I'm just getting me. Thank you so much, and that you can hear me. Thank you so much. Who's that? Adam Simark, how are you? And Hearts, thank you so much. It's good to see you. You excite me. You're only physically distant from me, but I feel your presence in my heart. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Lots of love and kisses out to you as well. That's so sweet. That's very sweet. That's a nice first comment, isn't it? It's always good to share love, okay? Always good to share love. So welcome, BlaXit family, BlaXit family. I'm trying to get my my guest to join me on this live, so just bear with me because I'm not sure if he's having any issues joining us. Just let me see if I can get my other phone. Hang on. Can you try and call him for me, please, Kath? Can you try and call him for me, please? Our guest. I'll send you the number. 1 second. Hang on. So, anyway, BlaXit family, how have you been? How's your week been? I'm Nyanjo Kajabi if you're new to the channel. And I am the CEO and also the founder of BlaXit. And if you don't know what BlaXit is all about your repatriation, relocation, back to your nation. That's right, back to Africa. This channel is all about and dedicated to our return journey back to the land of our forebears, of our ancestors, back to Africa. And Africa, as you know, is like a mansion with many rooms, 54 different countries. And many of us, our ancestry is thrown across many of them. And I have chosen to return to the ancestral home that I was told of by my grandma, which is the Gambia. And this is where I'm broadcasting from, and this is where I live. And I've been coming to the Gambia for over 15 years this year. And I've been coming to Africa for over 32 years. And it never ceases to amaze me. It's an amazing place to live. And it's somewhere that I'm encouraging you to leave the West for and to come back to. And so welcome, welcome, welcome. So I want you to leave the West for the best, and that's Africa. I want you to come back to happiness, to come back to real freedom, and to come back to your culture, your heritage, your nation, and of course your roots. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. And what do we do? I'm a repatriationist. I help you to make that all-important jump back to the motherland, back to Africa. I help you to find your way back. And also, we do these broadcasts to give you, okay, he said he's going to join in a few minutes. Yeah, to give you the courage to do that. And many of us repatriates who have returned to Africa through one way or another have found our way back. And now it's becoming even better because there are improvements with African governments, some of which are now offering citizenship to the diaspora returning and acknowledging us as the long-lost brothers and sisters of their children which were taken by force, and their adults which were taken by force and pulled away from the land of their ancestors and the land of their heritage, the land of their birth, the land of their language. And of course, like most people, I was born in England. That's my story. And my parents, both parents, were born in Jamaica, which is where the plantation was that my ancestors were taken to work in. They were made to work in the cane fields of Jamaica, my forebears. And so, therefore, I have made the full circle back to my ancestral home, and it is the best decision that I've actually made. And I've been broadcasting about this for a long time and sharing actually my experiences in Africa since 2011. But formally, I would say on a very expansive basis since doing an interview with Wode Maya, in which I expressed, the difference between living in Africa and living in UK, and what a colossal difference it makes actually living here and living there. So one of the things that we faced as a barrier when coming back initially, and still face in certain African countries, was the issue of citizenship and us belonging, because our ancestors did not give up the right at all to their citizenship. And last week, if you remember, if you was on the live, I was very, very emotional. I was very, very emotional because of the decision that had been made by the AU. And it was a very, very, very important decision that has had, and will have huge ramifications in the future. And so when they decided, I'm not going to go on too much about it because obviously I talked about it a bit last week, but I will talk about it with our guest when he arrives. And our guest is someone from one of the media houses here. And I want to discuss about the current situation about dual citizenship. As you know, there is now becoming a debacle about certain countries now saying that they're not even going to facilitate the return of people who leave their countries and have dual citizenship upon return, saying they're not going to accept their citizenship. I'm sure you know the countries that are now talking about that. UK and England, UK and America are two of the countries discussing this, which then creates a situation for us. I missed you too. Who's that? You're my, your godmother. Thank you. Hello, my godmother. How are you? I missed you. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, well, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm so glad that you've joined. Thank you so much. I thank you so much. I so appreciate it. So, in fact, the information that I shared last week is very important because it also gives us a day in which we can celebrate our ancestors, and also we can lay tribute to our ancestors. Finally, having a day. Now, I don't know if you know, but the AU and certain countries can make these rules, just like the AU can make rules and the EU can make rules. These are, African unions, and they can make decisions. So I was very glad to see that, and that was very important. Sorry, just looking at your comments. Oh, I love you, baby. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to be loved, isn't it? And I love you too, BlaXit family. Now, let me just do a bit of housekeeping before we get into today's program too deeply. Just some housekeeping. Now, this channel is, of course, dedicated to our upliftment. It is dedicated to our forward progress, our growth, and our unity. And in saying that, I do not accept any low vibrational activity or comments on this channel. If you do so and you try to disrupt the flow, positive flow, high frequency information, then we will have no choice to either put you in timeout or to ban you from the channel altogether. So I just thought I'd mention that, because if not, it spoils it for everybody else, and that's entirely not fair. Okay. So I just wanted to state that. Ray Gibson, good evening. Well, good afternoon to you. How are you and where are you? Let me know where you're all messaging me from, so I can give you a shout out. Hi, Ray Gibson. Where are you from, Ray? Where are you joining us from? Adam, where are you joining us from? Yeah, your godmother, where are you joining us from? Akil Ashin 518, peace and blessings to you. Where are you joining us from? Let me know where you're joining us from, so that I can say Godfrey, hello. Yeah, Godfrey Okola 2420. Welcome. Where are you joining us from? Let me know, Godfrey. Where are you joining us from? Let me know. Godfrey, hello and greetings to you. Where are you joining us from? Adam, where are you joining us from? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Akil, how are you? Yeah. Akil Hashim, let me know. Where are you joining us from? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Adam Simek, so let me know where you're joining us from, okay? And your godmother, let me know where you're joining us from. Ray, let us know where you're joining from. Oh, Ray said that he's in the Caribbean. So welcome from the Caribbean. Where in the Caribbean are you? You don't want to say. Okay. So, and Mohammed said that he's here in the UK. Greetings to you in the UK. And your godmother said that she's here in Atlanta. So, wow, we've got global reach. That's excellent. That's excellent. And so, one of the barriers to entry has been that. And I think now, with the recent actions of the AU, they should now signal to all of the African nations who agreed with this action, they should now, and the action, if you weren't aware, if you didn't join us last week, let's see if I've still got it. Kath, can you open this for me so I can just read it verbatim? Kath? Oh, let me have a look. 1 second. I'm just going to have a quick look. Joseph, how are you and where are you? Where are you, Joseph? Where are you? So tell me, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about what the AU has done, what we talked about last week? Unfortunately, I couldn't see your comments. So I'm hoping that before our guest comes on, we can discuss them. Let me just read it to you. 1 second, okay? Hang on. Let me just go into. Feelings about that? What are your feelings about that? Did I lose signal? Mod? Did I lose signal? Okay, just checking. So what are your feelings about that? I would just like to know before our formal guest is invited. I don't know why he's actually on because we agreed 3 o'clock. So I'm just going to double check again to see where he is. Yeah, so what are your thoughts about that? This is a revolutionary and groundbreaking event, and I'm not feeling the excitement. I'm not feeling the excitement. This is a key development. It moved me to tears of joy last week. I was having tears of joy. I was so emotional. It's a key development, especially for us who have been fighting for the move forward in reparations for years and years and years and years. This is an important move for us. This is great for all of us, especially us coming back, because they're recognizing our ancestors. And so when we come back to Africa, this should actually make it a lot easier for them to understand and to grasp the process of assimilation for us back into their nations. It says the sound is low. The sound is low. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, let's try again. Okay, let me try now. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello? Is this that auto mark? Can you hear me now? The sound is still low. Okay, let me take out this mic. 1 minute, it could be the microphone. How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Let me try a different microphone. Can you hear me now? Let me try a different microphone. You can hear me. Okay, let me try this mic. Tell me if this mic is also low, okay? Oh, do you know what? Loud the mic, because you can hear me. Let's just keep on. Okay, thank you for that. So all this time you haven't been hearing me? All this time you haven't been hearing me? It was clear. Okay. So has everybody else been hearing me? Can you let me know, fam? Have you been hearing me? Well, first, I'd like to thank you for joining us today, this Sunday. Very important Sunday. It is the 1st of March, 2026. Caffrey, take back that comment for me, please, hon. Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking back that comment. 1 second. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm not quite sure where my guest is. I'm going to check one more time. I'm not sure if he's having a problem adding to the program because, thank you. 1 second. I'm just going to check something. He said he's joining us now, so I do apologise for the delay because I've kind of been labouring about talking about. So, what did you think about the news that I just read to you about the AU? What did you think about it? Has no one got any comments on it? I'm absolutely stunned. This is revolutionary. BlaXit family, BlaXit family, BlaXit family. What do you think about the AU resolution? That now has made slavery and classified and defined, and it was in need of definition, it was in need of classification, defined slavery as a crime, so therefore we can go after reparations. What do you think in a legal way? Sorry, I was eating some berries, sorry. And they're melting. So, what do you think? Thank you for the hearts. So, what do you think about the AU resolution? What do you think about the AU resolution? BlaXit family, are you quiet or is it me? Hang on. No, you're quiet. What do you think? Do you want me to read it again? Is it not hitting home? Or do you think, it's not going to make any difference? I mean, you must have an opinion on it. What is your opinion on it? And what do you think the ramifications of it? Okay, so Muhammad 84810 says it's music to the ears of diasporans. Yay! Finally! Thank you. Thank you. I shed tears of joy. I shed tears of joy. I've added him. Okay, are you there? Yay!
Sorry for coming late.
Okay,
I
so I've
was
asked everybody about the resolution that was
uh,
made by the AU that formally makes, I'm going to introduce you, that formally makes slavery, classifies slavery and defines slavery as well as colonialism, historical colonialism. And of course, very importantly, apartheid and of course forced deportation as a crime against humanity in behest of almost genocide. And also they've given us a formal day in which is a national holiday, which is called the African Day of Tribute, in which we can now recognize all of the people that unfortunately were subject to the transatlantic slave trade and, of course, to historical colonization, apartheid, and forced deportation. Now, we have a wonderful special guest, Dawda. How are you today? Introduce yourself formally to BlaXit family. Let them know the news outlets that you work for and that, you know, you're a big star out here in the media. So do share with BlaXit family and introduce yourself.
thank you very much, Madam
Your
Juliet,
volume's very low.
oh, thank you very much. Am I audible enough
Have you
now?
got headphones?
Oh, thank you very much, Juliet,
Let me
and to
turn
the
this
entire
volume up. Is this
BlaXit
volume right on
family.
your phone, or is it just my phone? I think it's my phone playing up, you know.
I think it's your
Hello?
phone, right? Yeah, my name is Dawda Baldeh, a senior reporter
One
for
second,
the
I'm gonna
Fatu
get my
Network.
headphones. I'm gonna try my
Okay,
headphones. I'm not sure if they'll
get
work.
your
One second.
headphones. All right. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. I've put in my headphones.
Okay.
So sorry,
Thank you
start
very
again.
much. Thank you very much, Madam Juliet, and to the entire BlaXit family. I am happy to be a part of this great initiative. Also, to share my inputs in this ongoing campaign. My name is Dawda Baldeh, a senior reporter at the Fatu Network, also the presidential correspondent for the Fatu Network, one of the leading online newspaper in this country. And I'm happy to be a part of the BlaXit family, also to contribute my quota to the campaign for automatic citizenship here in Gambia, the smiling coast of Africa.
Thank you so much. So,
Pleasure.
as I've just said, there's been a remarkable resolution made by the AU, formally acknowledging slavery. Of course, I am one of the descendants of those that were enslaved and then raised in the diaspora and then chosen by choice to return to the land of my ancestors. The fact that we're given a national holiday, which is going to be November 30th, to commemorate the memories of those who suffered through the transatlantic slave trade and also through apartheid and, of course, colonialism and forced deportation. What impact do you think this is going to have now on African nations formally thinking about citizenship. And Ghana has recently made a U-turn on its decision to charge $2,500 or $2,000, I think it was, plus some other charges, for diasporans to get
Thank you very
citizenship.
much. And for me, this is a long overdue resolution that should have come decades ago, but nevertheless, they say it's better late than never. And the African Union have taken the right step to make sure that the descendants of the enslaved Africans are repatriated back to the African continent where they were forcefully taken. First, we need to understand the nature of this whole slavery. No one was asked to go and participate in this thing. People were forced to go against their will. So that alone is a violation of their human rights. So now that uh, the history is repeating itself, we've seen that the African Union, for me, is a commendable move, but it is long overdue. This should have happened way before now, so that now what we will be celebrating is African descendants becoming presidents and ministers. This is what we should have been celebrating by now. Not to talk about the citizenship or how we should acquire citizenship or the process
Or
that
the
they should
process that
follow.
they should follow.
But as the saying
As the
goes, it's
saying
better
goes,
late
it's
than
better late
never.
than never.
I was
I
reading the
was reading the
resolution and I
resolution and
was
I was
smiling
smiling
along the
along the
line.
line.
And
And
choosing
choosing
November
November
30th
30th
as a
as a
national
national
holiday
holiday
to
to
celebrate the
celebrate the
descendants of
descendants
the
of the
African
African
enslaved
enslaved
is
is
something that
something that
is
is
memorable,
memorable,
is
is
commendable,
commendable,
is
is
great
great.
because it is going to remind us, the Africans in general, how these things all happen, and then why we should unite, why we should accept the descendants of these enslaved Africans who were our grandparents. And now that their granddaughters and sons are coming back to the African continent, we should welcome them with open arms and see them not as people coming to our place for opportunities, but they are coming back to where they belong to. We have to see that these people are coming back to where they belong to, not as people coming to reintegrate. No. And the other thing also, because if you look at the African continent, like this Jamaican singer said, it doesn't matter where you are as long as you're African. So that alone, for me, that alone is fulfilling. So if I see anybody who has the same flex like mine, I see you like my brother or my sister. And I think African Union has taken the giant step. Now it's up for the African leaders of the various African countries to also embrace this great initiative and put their personal differences or political differences aside and welcome our brothers and sisters from the diaspora back to the great African continent where they belong to, and this is their ancestral uh, continent.
Yeah, I mean, this resolution,
But I'm
was
big
made by all of the member states.
which was the pioneers of granting citizenship to the African descendants, has now taken a back step because since former President Jawara granted citizenship to some of the African descendants in the 80s, we don't see that happen up to this day now. And I'm calling on the government of the Gambia, led by His Excellency President Adama Barrow, to consider this as an urgent plea to make sure that the Gambian passport is extended to our brothers and sisters who are the descendants of the enslaved Africans. Because if you look at Gambia, we have a huge role in the African slavery because this is the home of Kunta Kinte. So that alone should serve as a reminder that the African descendants, especially those who trust Gambia to be their ancestral home, should be given the chance to at least have the Gambian passport in their hands, so they can also contribute to national development. Because Gambia needs you. I always tell people that the African descendants, most of them, if I can say 90% of them, don't need Africa for anything. All they need is the sense of belonging, where they feel like, yes, this is me. I am back home. If it is money, they're coming from where there is enough money. If it is about development, they're coming from developed countries. If it is about education, they have it over there. If it is about whatever you think about economic, it is all there. So now why are they coming back to Africa? It's because of the emotional connection, that sense of
Yeah.
belonging is something that they missing. And it's like you traveling another country to go and hustle. When you get something, the first thing you think about is, hey, I need to go back home and develop home. So it's the concept that African descendants are looking into, that sense of belonging. So I think there is no point that we have to do this. Yes, there are processes and procedures that should be followed to ensure that everyone acquiring these documents follow them. But it should not be something that should take time or requires a lot of scrutiny. As long as someone has no criminal records, that alone is fulfilling. Why not give the person the go ahead? Because we have Chinese who are granted Gambian citizenship. We have American who are Gambian citizenship. We have the all types of people. So what about our brothers and sisters in the diaspora? I believe that there should be nothing like wasting time to grant them citizenship. I know Juliet has been in this country for a quite long time. I feel disappointed whenever we talk about this African repatriation anytime, and we're talking about the citizenship, every time the citizenship. Sometimes I feel like I'm a bit disappointed, but I feel like if I have the powers, the next thing when I what I want to hear is that anytime Juliet is texting me, it's like, "Hey, Baldeh, I have my Gambian passport." That's the message I want to hear. I want to read, and I hope that it's happening very soon.
Um, I've campaigned. I've been to see the president. I've been to see the vice president. I've been to see Minister of the Interior. I've been to see the director of immigration at the time, Mr. CD. I think, it's not a lack of effort on our part. And what I think is most disappointing is that during the Roots Festival, so many of us used to come here because that is where the predecessor, the previous president, would then grant us citizenship. And we were made to jump through loads of hoops. I mean, one of the hoops that is being set up, I mean, Benin is an exception, I think. But for most of them, they're asking for blood. And I'm not talking, talking like hypothetically, I'm talking literally. They're asking for blood. They're asking for blood tests from us in order to prove our DNA, to prove that, indeed we are African and that we deserve. It's almost like trying to put a square peg into a square peg into a round hole, because essentially, like, my DNA spread across many different African nations, including the Gambia, including Nigeria, including many other nations, as are many other diasporans. But I mean, how do you feel about the fact that we should now be asked to, give blood in order to justify our application for citizenship?
Can you repeat that question a little bit? The noise is too much. I don't get it all.
Okay, I said we're being asked for literally our blood before attaining citizenship. Many countries are demanding that we take blood tests in order to justify our claim for citizenship in that particular country or region. I mean, which I think is preposterous, because I've seen videos, of people that have taken DNA tests who are from China, who have African DNA from Chad and different countries. So I'm asking now that they're basically asking for blood, some of these countries, in order for us to claim our rights, our birthright as Africans. I mean, and I personally, like I said, if someone wants to find out where they're coming from, yes, they have the right to do so. But if, for example, I find out that I'm from a part of Sudan that is actually imbued with war, for example, and I want to go and settle down in, for example, Senegal or another country, I should not be prevented by doing that because Senegal does not appear in my DNA test.
Okay, thank you very much. I was even struggling to get part of the question, but I understand the point you're talking about.
So how do you
So
feel
for
about
me,
that? How do you feel about having to jump through the hoops, so many different hoops in order to do that. Because if I was getting citizenship by marriage, you wouldn't be checking my criminal record, would you? You wouldn't be asking me for blood, would you?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel
So,
about this trend of
like I said,
African
I was
countries
struggling to get part
asking
of your
us?
question, but I got at least the basic of it. For me, the issue of DNA is not really necessary because we all know the black people were taking the European countries and the Americas, so they were forced against their will. So there is no point of requesting for DNA for these individuals who want to come back home. I was saying that you coming back home, it's not like you traveling to other continents, you coming back home. If you are choosing to go to Asia, I would have said yes, because those people you have different skin color, perhaps they made it white than DNA this. But as long in Africa right now, if you
Oh, I think you're frozen. You're gonna have to rewind that, Dawda. I think you're frozen.
can you hear me?
Yes, start again.
Okay,
Because you
sorry,
froze.
internet. You know, Gambian internet is always stressful. So what I'm saying, like the African descendants, brothers and sisters, if you are walking on the Gambian street like this, if you don't say any word, nobody will know who you are because they see you as a Gambian. So what's the point of requesting for a DNA for someone who is coming back home? It's just like me living in town. If I want to go back to my village and they are telling me that I should present an ID card, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yes.
So I don't see it like some. I feel like these are just political tools that leaders are still using and Western ideologies to deter people their right to come back home. Because in the West, we've seen they said uh, no matter how long a snake stays in the river, it will never turn to a crocodile. So once you are black, you are an African. That's automatic. Whether you're born in America, you're born in Brazil, Mexico, or wherever you're born, you are an African. The blood is African blood. So I don't see any economic or political sense to say that the African descendants who want to come back home must go through a DNA test. I'm really disappointed with that policy. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it because I think that we're being castigated enough. And then
Exactly.
when I recently saw, the intention of Ghana wanted to monetize it, I then, saw it as a part of manumissions. And, manumissions was a part of slavery where we had to buy back our freedom. And what people don't understand is, critically, coming back to Africa is a part of our freedom. In the West, we don't have freedom. We're born into racist regimes. We're born into discriminatory. Can you hear me? I think you're frozen again. Hello? And let me take this opportunity to say hello to Willie Rivers. Okay, can you hear me? You're back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So I was saying also, the financial factor, the recent U-turn made by Ghana is a huge relief because, as you know, they were trying to charge like up to $2,000 for citizenship. And I said it felt like manumissions It felt like the payment that we had to make in order
Yes.
to pay for our freedom during slavery. And when we're coming back to Africa, it's very much, like for us coming back to freedom out of racist regimes. They talk about regime change, but they never talk about racism change. America needs a huge regime change. That regime change is the regime that they have, their racist regime, which is very apparent now. If it wasn't apparent before, it's incredibly apparent. And I'm talking about since, civil rights and Jim Crow, etc., with what's going on currently and what's going on now, especially with African countries facing travel bans and exclusionary policies and security alerts on African nationals from different countries. I think there's 26 countries that have been pinpointed by America, just to say one of the countries. But we're coming from these racist countries, so we're wanting to come into our relative freedom. And as such, do you think that there should be a price paid on part of our citizenship on freedom? Do you think that we should have to pay the price? Is $2,000 a bit much, don't you think? And are they monetizing our freedom, our right to return? What say you?
Uh, for me, I would say, there should be no price freedom because man is home.
Sorry, you're
Even though
breaking up. I didn't hear you.
price, it should be reasonable price. $2,000.
Is there a quiet spot you can
Say,
find?
I believe that in a price, that's not. I mean,
You're breaking up.
up to now is working.
Now it's better. I can hear you.
What I'm saying is that there should be huge 2,000 too expensive claiming on freedom, and this was something that should be given to you free because it was given to you, taken from you is free. Reclaiming what's on. So $2,000 is way expensive, and it's anyway. Yes, you understand certain documents if you need them, you have money. But this should not even exceed $700. It shouldn't exceed that. What other documents are you going to pay for that? So I I'm not sure it's necessary. At least let's say between 7 and 500 US dollar. That would be fine. That can be justifiable and is reasonable for someone coming back to reclaim their own freedom because
Why
we
should we?
need
Why
this
should we? Why should we pay for freedom? Don't you think that there should be a responsibility, a moral responsibility on those nations who lost those people? That when coming back, we should be seen as an exception. In fact, we should be
exactly
greeted and be given, not charged anything. We should be seen as
exactly
long lost family actually
Mhm.
returning to the country. And,
Exactly.
many of us, like me, invest, build our homes. We have to obviously get land to put our homes on. We add to the economy even and contribute to the economy. As such, they should actually be making a special case of us, not actually incurring costs. We should
Yeah,
be welcomed and be given a special welcome back.
exactly.
That's how I feel. Can you imagine Alex Haley coming back after writing the Book of Ruth? And
Hmm.
then, Gambia giving him citizenship, which they did. I think that was in 1977. And then
Yeah,
saying to Alex Haley, "Oh, by the way, there'll be a $500 fee for that." What? It's preposterous.
hmm,
And it's not because African nations are poor, because I do not agree with that philosophy. I think that African nations, yes, some African nations have faced sanctions, unfair and unlevied sanctions against them. And I will be talking about sanctions probably in next week's show.
Yeah.
Because over 20 nations have faced what I see as unfair sanctions levied against them by a dictator, democratic dictator, which has affected
So,
many African nations. So I do
so-called democrat.
understand, I do understand the financial aspect of it, but I don't think that it would break any government to offer
Hmm.
a handful of passports for free. I don't think that it would break the budget of any African nation. And there's
Really.
not enough people to justify maybe giving out, 100 passports or so, or 200. I think it was, the largest batch has been to Ghana, and it hasn't even been that many people. And
Exactly.
for a country that, has gold and is now even refining their own gold, just
Hmm.
to do that. I mean, I don't understand, where the mindset is. And I don't know if you can share with me, from your perspective, where is the mindset that makes you think that, okay, my cousin's coming back home, after, getting kicked out of their house forcibly, and actually I'm now going to charge them rent for a house that they used to own?
For me, from my this is a personal view, and that is why I always feel disappointed when I see Africans being treated otherwise in another African continent, in another African country. Sorry, because we still live with these Western ideologies that restricted us, strip our freedom, they strip the values that we have. Africa is known to be a smiling continent. Wherever you go, you are accorded that love and respect. But
It's
nowadays,
true.
because of these Western ideologies in our minds, imagine as a Gambian, if I'm traveling to Senegal, I have to face a lot of restrictions. It's easier for me to travel to the West than traveling within the African countries. And this mindset, I think the Gen Zs need to revolutionize the whole issue. That is why I like, even though I'm a journalist, I embrace the lifestyle of the Gen Zs because we are tired of the old system doing things the usual way from colonial times to now. I always feel like it's very bad for someone, let's say my family member who have been missing for a very long time. Now this person is able to trace us back, coming, and we are trying to reject this individual. What are we sending? What message are we sending? Is it because we are divided, or we don't want to embrace love and care? That is what this continent is known for. So that is why if I see people restricting others, I feel very bad, and that is why I'm pushing hard, even to talk to some private National Assembly members to see if we can have a private member bill that will create certain clauses specifically for the African diaspora, so that even this requirement of 15 years, you have to stay in the country for 15 years, should be slashed and reduced at least to, let's say, 3 to 4 years. It's
Yes.
not necessary. But these things can happen, but it takes time because of we have an old system, and then the younger generation is pushing hard, but we don't get there yet. But we will get there. Like say, fighting for freedom is not an easy fight, and giving up is not an option. We just have to keep pushing every day. We have to keep pushing, pushing. They say lies that is repeated 1,000 times becomes the truth. So fighting for freedom, we just have to push because we're fighting for a cause that is very important. Today is you and I, but tomorrow, when you have the passport there, somebody is also coming, and this is going to be Juliet's legacy and the BlaXit family at large. And I am very optimistic this is happening. Perhaps not today, not tomorrow, but this is happening.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I so appreciate it, because yeah, it is a fight for freedom. It literally is. And
Hmm.
the thing is that what many people don't realize is the sacrifices that we make. When
Exactly.
we come to African countries, our pensions are frozen.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can still get your pension in many African countries, not all. So always do check that before you repatriate. I mean, Gambia is one of the countries that you are able to get your pension in, like from the UK. I don't know about America. I think you
Hmm.
can from America as well, but it's frozen, as in, i.e., from the time you left, the rates don't go up. So you lose all of that, you lose all of those increments when you come to Africa. So in fact, when we come here, what people don't realize is that it's a huge sacrifice. You're leaving your family behind, the family members that aren't repatriating with you. Because remember, you probably, have left your mum, your dad, whoever, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, because making the jump to repatriate to Africa is a bold step to make. And many people
Exactly.
in the West are comfortable with racism. I was very
Exactly.
uncomfortable with racism, and I felt much more comfortable in Africa than I ever did in England, in fact. And not only that, those countries are not only sucking the life out of us, they're sucking the money out of us every single day. And it's like they've got us in this 40-hour system of control where it's very hard to break out of it. You're working 40 hours a week, literally. They only give you the weekend, just enough time to breathe, to get up in order to start again. It's a whole control cycle. And so when you break out and you find freedom, it's a whole different reality. And that for me is so important, and that's why I've been helping people to repatriate, helping people to find lovely places to live here, whether it's a piece of land or it's a home. I try my best to do that and help them to assimilate and to come back in. And I've made that my life's work. I've made that my business. And with the things that are happening now, I'm hoping that more people can come, but I can't do it on my own. I need the support of these African
Exactly.
governments in
And you
order
have.
to make programs, proper assimilation programs and so on, to help us to integrate into the countries. I do host families and so on to support people, but it has to be a joint enterprise. And this is
Exactly.
what I think is important, is having that joint enterprise. So if you could advise the government of the Gambia today regarding the citizenship of people like myself, who have been coming here for 15 years, and what would you say to them about us African diaspora who would like to come and assimilate into the country and be seen as Gambian, be seen as African again, be given African names, be given back our identity,
And
enable us to learn
exactly.
the language, correct,
Yeah.
enable us to learn our language again, enable us to, rebuild our culture because we're born into foreign cultures.
Yeah.
And just feel as though we belong somewhere, because in these other countries we feel othered. We don't feel as though we really belong. When you're in England, you're black British, you know what I mean? You're not really British, you're black and you're British. It's like a hyphenated thing. And the only thing you do feel is black. You really don't feel British. You're just British by experience, but you're not British by nationality in any formal sense, because they make sure that you're recognized that you are not from there, and they make you feel that you definitely aren't from there. Whereas when I come here, I do feel like I belong here. I do feel like, at home here. I really feel at home. It's the first place I've ever been to, even though I've been to Jamaica, where my parents are from, but I didn't feel as though it was my home. But here, I actually feel as though it's my home. So, that being said, you had an opportunity to have an audience with the president, with myself, and I'm appealing, obviously, for citizenship and appealing for for an exception to be made for us, an expedited citizenship to be made for us. What would you say to him?
If I have the chance to face the president to appeal to him about this, the message is very simple. Uh, Gambia needs the African descendants, and we complaining about unemployment rate. This African descendants.
You're frozen again. Dawda, I think he'll rejoin us. I think he's just. That's it. Can you say it
Can
again? Because you completely
can
lost.
you
We
hear
lost
me?
all of that. Yeah, we lost all of that. Start from the
Okay.
beginning.
So what I'm saying, if I have the chance to face the president right now, the appeal is very simple. Expedite this process and grant the African descendants, give them the Gambian passport so that they can invest in this country. They can repatriate in this country and contribute to national development. This is a young country with a population of less than 3 million people. And having these people coming back here with the expertise, you have in them engineers, you have in them doctors, you have them agriculturalists, you have them in all sectors. So them coming back home is going to be a significant boost for the country, and it's also going to increase and improve our tourism sector because these people are not liabilities, they are assets. They are going to contribute to national development. So my appeal to the president is to expedite this process and also give them privileges where they don't have to go through all these processes to get this citizenship. The only thing I will say what should be done is that to give, let's say, if the process will take them on a normal day, it will take them like 1 month. Why not slash it to 5 working days? So that you can have whatever document you need in 5 days and start your projects in this country. If other countries are doing it, Gambia can equally do better than that. So because we are the smiling coast of Africa, so we are supposed to extend that beautiful smile to everybody. And the African descendants are special people that own this smile. We should, in fact, uh, calling these people, come and collect your Gambian passport, not them struggling for this passport. And my appeal to the president is to make this process as soon as possible so that it can also be part of his legacy. He is someone who is very peaceful and he accommodates almost everyone. So this is going to be his legacy. If he's watching this, I am calling him Mr. President. Expedite this process and get these people their citizenship so they can get to work and help you and your government develop this country.
Thank you. So, thank you so much. So I'm so happy that you've addressed him. And I do know that actually the president is one of the subscribers to BlaXit. So, I do hope he told me that when I met him. So, I do hope that he's actually watching. And you said something about expediting the process, which is very important. Benin recently has done that, and you can get your citizenship within, I think it's 3 months, and you pay
Yeah,
$100.
90
You
days, yeah.
know, and so a lot of people are like going to Benin. So when you talk about capital flight, you're also talking about people that will be leaving Gambia. Some people have left Gambia to go to other nations just
Hmm.
simply because of the citizenship issue. So Gambia is actually losing as well, and it doesn't have to be this way. And I
Hmm.
don't know what is stopping this country and why it is so steadfast in being so slow in the process. So I want to ask you, what are the blockages? What do you
I
think the
think the
blockages might
blockage
be?
is I think the blockage is this is systemic failure because even as we speak, the Gambian citizens are struggling to obtain ID cards as simple as it is. Much more of a passport. If you want a passport in this country right now, it's not available. So it's a systemic failure. That is why the system, we need a system change, not regime change, but system change. Because imagine, as simple as a birth certificate, you cannot get birth certificate in 1 week if you don't bribe someone. That's not right. Something that you should get in few minutes. It takes you like a week or plus. It's a general problem that we're facing, and that's why we need a system change where everything will be digitalized so that if you need a passport, you don't need to struggle to go to Banjul. You just have to upload the documents that you need to upload, and they can do checks and balances. And then the next minute you should be called and then asked to pick your passport elsewhere.
So one of the things that was discussed that have come out of the AU's resolution is potentially about looking at a diasporan visa.
Hmm.
Because obviously, you know, going to a country to get citizenship is one step. But with the bans, as you can imagine, for example, America has banned several African countries. So if I, for example, was an African American traveling on an American passport, I would be barred from going to those countries also based on the fact that I'm traveling on an American passport, even though I'm an African that's born in America, and my history, or I'm, seen as an African American or whatever. So therefore, that ban, whether it's Burkina Faso, whatever, would then have implications on me not being able to go to that country because we're being castigated along with the Anglo-Saxons, and we're not Anglo-Saxons, but we've been thrown in the heap with Anglo-Saxons by virtue of where we're born. In that being the case, how do you feel about maybe the AU issuing a special visa to those who want to apply, obviously for those who want to travel across Africa and maybe live in Africa, having a special visa which will enable us to travel on those passports, but given special dispensation as African descendants? Because this would stop some of the issues that have been carrying on. Because Donald Duck, I called the leader of America Donald Duck, obviously for political reasons, I don't want to say his name, because they're hitting off a lot of they're hitting off a lot of YouTube channels that call him by name if they don't agree with things that he's saying, and I don't. So therefore, I just call him Donald Duck, but even with what's going on, 26 countries all facing restrictions across Africa is by no task something that's, it's going to have huge impact. So what do you say to our brothers and sisters, particularly over there in America, that have, American passports, and there are certain African countries that now they're facing bans to go into because America banned African countries. So those African countries, quid pro quo, have banned them too. So what happens to us? We get caught in the crossfire. So do you think that the AU should now be looking at creating some kind of contingency visa that diasporans can access, that can be acknowledged by African nations, that will allow us to travel into those countries by virtue of the fact that we're African descendants, even if we are American citizens, for example?
Yeah, without a doubt, I think that is something that the AU need to look into so that the African diasporas who are in the continent, who want to travel across the African continent, will not be affected by the ridiculous visa sanctions imposed by the US government on African continents, and in response, African continents are also issuing the same ban on American citizens. And then the African Union need to look at this issue and make sure that they arrange a special visa for African descent so they can travel from one country to another without being directly affected by the visa sanctions imposed by the United States of America and other African continents, which is in response to the ban from the United States government. This is something the African Union should look into as soon as possible, because African descendants are into a lot of businesses in the African continent. They cannot be affected by policy in the United States of America in a continent where they belong. It's like now you are stripping someone of their rights. Now you chasing them out of their homes as well. So when night falls, they have no place to sleep. So it's a
Exactly.
difficult situation, and this is why the African continent and African Union should look into this issue and engage African governments to see what is the way forward for African descendants having the United States of American passport or other countries, so they can move freely in the African continent.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm not going to keep you for much longer. Thank you so much for joining us. I've so enjoyed your commentary
Thank you
and
so much. I
your
appreciate it.
contribution. But I am going to lead on one last thing. What do you think we should do moving forward?
Your voice is very low.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I said, what do you think? Maybe it's the fan. Hang on. What do you think that we should do moving forward as a collective, as African descendants? Because, We should have had an AU passport, really,
Mhm.
which would have, if you like, surpassed this issue that we're facing now. If we were given an AU passport as the sixth region,
Mhm.
as we should have been, which would have surpassed this. What do you think the next steps should be for us? Obviously, if reparations comes, and we know that we're fighting for it now, and we're in the decade of reparatory justice, and I think that part of the package for reparations should be enabling us to return back to our chosen nation in Africa, and being given a package, a resettlement package, should be part of that reparations, because it should be to restitution back to what we was in our home. So it should enable us to go back and have a package enough for us to financially support ourselves, and also to have a home in the nation of our choice. I think that should be a part of the repatriation package. But that repatriation package also has to come, with a welcome package from the host nation as well. And so far, I think there's something like only 10 in West Africa that I know of. Is it? No, it's not 10. I think it's 8. Sorry, for the nations now allow dual citizenship. So, what do you think the next steps forward should be for us, both like here in Gambia and also in other African countries which have not got a comprehensive returnee program for our birthright to right to return to Africa? What do you think that we should do? What should the next steps be?
I think the next step should be, let me start with the Gambia, is to engage the legislative body, because all these ridiculous laws that are restricting this process were inherited from our colonial regime. So there's a need to scrap these laws and then bring up laws that are going to embrace the African descendants. And this is very possible. Laws are not religious books. They can be amended at any point of time, because the world is moving at a very faster rate. So there's a need for the lawmakers to be sensitized on this entire process, because what I understand is that even some lawmakers don't understand, they don't know history. And if you don't know something, you wouldn't value it as well. It's just like you giving diamond to a 2-year kid today. He or she has no idea of what it is.
Hmm.
But if you give that same diamond to a grown-up man, the man understands that this is wealth in my hands. These 2-year kids might see it as a toy or something like it's just a pebble. But now, this is why lawmakers need to be put in the line to understand the whole process. When they understand, now they can translate these things into legislations that are going to force the regime to ensure that things are done the right way. Because there's no point of you waiting for 15 years to fight for something that is your own right, which means that if 15 years don't come, you cannot achieve it. I think there's no need for that. So lawmakers are very important in this. The second thing is also the citizens. We need to sensitize the people from the grassroots level to understand the history of slavery, what happened, why are these people coming back home. We need to understand this, and this is why I personally will recommend they change it in our syllabus. The way history is written should be changed so that people understand what is history and why do we need to in fact learn history. Is for us to understand the mistakes that were made so we can rectify them today. But if we learn history at the same time, we are not implementing or we are not making any change and amends to what happened in the past, it means that the history we learning does not make any sense to us. So I will recommend engagement with the lawmakers, the citizens, and also at school level, because that's where everything starts. We all learn about Kunta Kinte when we were in primary school,
Yeah.
and today I'm talking about Kunta Kinte. So It's important. So that is why it's important that we also start from the grassroots level, educate the people, let them understand this whole process. Once somebody understands something, really the person can accept it. But if you don't understand anything, you will just be there. If people say yes, you gotta say yes. If they say no, you will say no,
Yeah.
based on the influence. So I think these three key points are important for us to engage them and see how best we can get the best out of them. Because once they understand the message, it will be very easy for them to implement that message or to amplify the same message. Yeah.
Okay, so lastly, that being said, that's very important what you've just said. I think you looked at it in a three-prong attack. Well, not attack, wrong words.
Yeah.
Approach.
Yeah.
Much more friendly word. Yeah, in a three-prong approach, which would be education. Okay, education in one aspect of from the school and to the children, which of course has to be done at a state level
Mm-hmm.
through the education department.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, you spoke about the populace, the people, the
Mm-hmm.
general populace, making it,
Like,
current and
like what we're doing right now. Anyone watching will learn something new.
yes, precisely. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to the general populace, and also highlighting the importance of those historical wrongs. Also, also sharing the legacy of those historical wrongs and how the long-lasting impact of those historical wrongs and colonization, and the current impact, because Gambia just celebrated 61 years of independence. And
Exactly.
so colonization has impacted Gambia in so many ways, especially with regard to, impinging its growth and certain elements of development. So that's the two aspects is, looking at how we can impact the people. And I think that you have a role to play in that as the media and coordinating that, because of course that's one way to get it out to people, and we have actually tried that approach.
Mm-hmm.
The third aspect that you mentioned was the lawmakers, and if you remember, we've had a symposium, we've had building communities, we've expended a lot of time and energy trying to move this forward. And every time there's a new government, you have to start again. Every time there's a new, and so that being said, even with all of those efforts being made, I don't think that there's been as much traction as we should have had. I was really excited when it was mentioned in Parliament, and then it just kind of fizzled out. And so, how do you keep it relevant? I mean, I think that's one of the things that concern me is how do we keep it relevant? How do we keep the topic at hand? And how can we use this National Day of the 30th of November to, let's say, make it facilitate all of those needs in one day on the 30th. What ideas might you have on how we can use the 30th of November, the African Tribute Day, to appeal to all of the groups, the schools, the politicians, and the national populace? How can we do this? And
I
what
think
ideas do you have?
it, one ways of mobilizing and sending this message out there, we can do a march pass to various streets, and then after there we invite dignitaries from historians to lawmakers, government representatives, the Ministry of Local Governments, and the Ministry of Tourism to have a dialogue on this national day, and it's going to yield dividends, I'm sure, without an iota of doubt. If we do that, we send the message out there. When people, sometimes you send them once somebody will hear it, and then he or she might just get tips of it. But if you keep repeating the same message, the individual will digest the message. Sometimes people reject the message not because they want to reject, but they don't understand this first time hearing about this. So, but if you keep repeating the same thing, the same message, using different energies, it's going to at least digest. So, I will assume we have a match pass, and before this particular day, we engage media houses to talk about the importance of this day and how we interact with this day. And then the idea is to send the message and to get policymakers involved. When we get them involved, because they are the ones who are change everything. We just have to send the message out there. When we put the message out there, they will take actions because they are representing the people. So that's why if we have them on this particular day and have historian, it's going to help a lot, and I'm sure it's going to change a lot. We can look
Okay.
at and have a match pass, let's say from Arab Avenue to Westfield, displaying banners that says we back home, we should do this. You just sending the positive message and the positive energy out there so people can get to know. And that message go far and near.
There's one thing I disagree with, though. You can tell a
Okay.
lie. You can tell a lie 1,000 times. It's still a lie. It doesn't become the truth because it's all about perception. And for me, a lie is a lie. You can tell it 1,000 times. It's still a lie.
It's a proverb.
It just goes to show that not all proverbs make sense. But anyway, you can tell me a lie 1,000 times. You understand? It's still a lie. They told us
So,
how many thousand
so
times that we're inferior. Don't believe it never did. No matter how many times you tell me I am not inferior, and I will not believe that lie. It's a complete lie. It is
agree.
a total lie. And when you're raised in Europe, or America, they do their best to make you feel less than. And I don't believe it. They'll do everything. They'll put themselves as the modicum of beauty. Don't believe it. It's a lie, And so I think that we're now coming into, right isn't white. White isn't right. And it's about time we've come into right being right. And
Mm-hmm.
that's very important that we start to understand justice, because reparatory justice depends on justice.
Mm-hmm.
This is a historical wrong that I do believe that the governments not only have a moral obligation, but they also have a historical and legal obligation in order to give us restitution. I don't think that we're here begging. There's a legal obligation upon them to
Yeah,
do it,
exactly.
because our families never said, "Oh, guess what? We've been enslaved, and now we're not Africans anymore." That just didn't happen, and has never happened. And so no one's actually said, "Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to now that I've got a British passport, I'm no longer African." That is not the case. That
Mm-hmm.
is not the case, and we should not be judged by where we were born, but who we are. And that's so important, because Africa is born in us.
Mm-hmm.
Even if an orange tree is in China or an orange tree is in Gunjur, it's still an orange tree. And
Mm-hmm.
that is something that's so important. And I cannot, emphasize how important it is that we're recognized as Africans. And that's why I said automatic African citizenship. It's automatic African. And what the automatic African aspect is that you automatically recognize us as Africans. Indians are still seen as Indians when they're in England. Chinese are still seen as Chinese and can go back to their motherland when they're in China. It's Africa that needs to open the doors and, welcome home its children. It's just simple.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's, of course, a white man who's got his foot in the door. Because
Mm-hmm.
that is always what is stopping, is, the old colonials are there with their foot in the door trying to stop the process. And if that is the case, African nations have to rise up and be strong enough and say enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
How many more African nations are going to be under sanction by these bullies? Enough is enough. We have to stand and start being self-sufficient, having our own self-determination as African countries. And Gen Zs have to also stand up and say enough is enough. Enough
Yeah.
of the nepotism, enough of the corruption, enough of systems that don't benefit us. It's got to be enough is enough. It doesn't matter where you are. I'm not just talking about here because we have when you're talking about war, who was just now doing war? It's America. What
Mm-hmm.
happened in Iran? What happened in Israel? It's America. Look at what's happening in Palestine. Who's backing it? At the end of the day, and they're still affecting Africa. They're still, dominating and trying to control Africa. And it's time for Africa to stand on its own 2 feet. There's no reason why Africa should not embrace its brothers and sisters coming back home. I'm not saying that if you don't want to do checks and balances that you shouldn't, because of course, we have been out in the West. So of course you should have checks and balances, right? But people can come here on holiday just the same without it. And they have to also take that into consideration.
Yeah.
They can come here and live for 15 years without any checks or balances. They can decide not to have any citizenship and still live here. So what difference does it make? It doesn't make any sense. You live here for 15 years and now you're going to ask me for a police check? Make it make sense. You can't make sense out of nonsense. So anyway, I'm going to say thank you so much. And thank you to BlaXit family. I am Italist. I'm going to say hello to you, Willie Rivers. Thank you so much. And Lorraine. Lorraine says, Africa has many countries, nations, which one visa will you want, which is your homeland. And the thing is that is down to choice. I think that should be down to choice, because my largest number of African DNA is actually Nigerian. I have Gambian also, but the largest amount actually for me is Nigerian. 33.1% Nigerian in my DNA composite. So that being said, I'm here living in Gambia, which is where my grandma told me that my family come from. Do you understand? Because my grandma told me. My grandma never said, do you come from Nigeria? My grandma said Gambia. But my DNA composite says Nigeria. But I didn't go to Nigeria. I came to Gambia and I loved it and made this my home. This is where my grandma, when I came, I saw people who looked like me here in the Gambia. I look Gambian. So I said, okay, this must be the right fit for me. And not to say that I wouldn't go to Nigeria. That's definitely on my bucket list. To go to Nigeria, I want to, see my people, find out, where I'm from, etc., etc. Maybe, do some more investigation into my DNA so far as that's concerned. But I've already made my home here. And so this is it. And so I think there should be a visa. There should definitely be a visa that you can apply for, just like you apply for any other visa. To go into any other country, you need a visa. Why can't there be an African diaspora, African descendant visa that we can apply for? It's obvious that you're African just by looking at our photograph. So I think that there should be, because the visa should be 2 level. One is for living, one is for extended stay. And then, then you can apply for citizenship afterwards, but an expedited one. And that should apply to all nations. It's a very simple process. I don't understand why they've made it so difficult.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm going to love you and leave you, my dearest. Yeah, you've made a fantastic contribution. Always intellectual, always intelligent, and always wise. That is Dawda, the bestest reporter from Fatu Network, in my opinion. My humble opinion.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and have a happy Ramadan to you as well.
Thank
I know
you.
you're fasting, so I so appreciate you taking the time out to be here with us. We've got many people coming into the comments now, so I'll just read a couple. It says, Ayo Afula says, there is no need to choose a nation when we belong to all. More power. And this is what I'm saying, in fact, my DNA composite has so many countries on it. And so you're right. And she said, In 1884 and 1885, Euro Conference divided African people into countries. That was the Berlin Conference, in Chatham House. This is exactly what happened. And we're still bowing down to the white man's division. We're still bowing down to the white man's colonization. We're still bowing down to the white man's immigration systems. In fact, we're still bowing down to the white man, and that is where the problem is. Sorry to say it, Africa needs to get up off of its knees and stand up as an African man in his own nation. That's what needs to happen. We used to say, take your laws, take your system, take your politics, take everything, and let's take a leaf out of Captain Ibrahima Traore's book in Burkina Faso. And, learn who are our allies and who are our enemies, and who we can, how we can stand up and be independent in our own nation and control our own natural resources, because these colonizers have been stealing our resources for years. That has always been their motive. They're going to come and soak it. What they're going to do, they're going to say they're going to civilize the people that civilized them. How does that make any sense? We civilized them. We're the ones that taught them high math. We're the one that, taught them about proper building structures. We're the ones that actually taught them even about the freaking toilets. We're the ones that even, taught them about sanitization and proper drainage. It was us. It was us, it was Africans. So, that being said, Ayo said great discussion. On that last note, I'm going to thank everybody who joined. Thank you so much. Thank you. And let's move this forward. So the next step for us is to maybe organise another meeting in the National Assembly. I have attended the National Assembly before, and I have given a presentation, and I would gladly do another one. So please let me know the date and the time, and I will be there. And then with regard to schools or a school program, I'm sure that we can organise something that can go around the schools ready for November 30th. So all the schools will do something to, pay tribute to the people that died during slavery. Maybe they can, wear costumes and rags, and, maybe a play that every school can do. A presentation, every class can do a representation of Kunte Kinte or some aspect of roots. And let's make it happen. As for the general populace and the people, they have to open their eyes to the fact that, xenophobia is not going to help us. We have to open our arms and greet each other as brothers and sisters. I think that's the most important thing.
Sure.
So thank you, my love. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, and we'll speak soon. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, BlaXit family. Thank you for a lovely debate. It's been so interesting, and I hope if you've got any questions, you can ask them now before he goes. So if not, he's going to go right now. So if you've got any questions to ask our guest, Dawda, from Fatu Network, ask him now. Okay, Watching Hawk 355 says greetings. Thank you so much. Talis, you got any questions? Ayo, any questions? He said all the best. So we'll call it a day then. So remember, BlaXit family, we are one nation, one people, one destiny, one love, one future. Okay, and we are one continent, one people. Thank you so much. Goodbye, BlaXit family. Same time, same place next week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.